Hello, welcome back to English with Chris. Today we've got something a little bit special because it's International Coffee Day, Sunday, October 1st, 2023. So I wish you all a very happy International Coffee Day. And to celebrate, let's look at some words and phrases to do with coffee. First up, we have cup of joe. This phrase is traditionally American name for a cup of coffee. So a cup of joe. And our example, oh, I would love a cup of joe about now. So this person would love a cup of coffee. Next up, we have wake up and smell the coffee. So if you need to be more realistic or recognize unpleasant qualities in someone, your friends may tell you it is time to wake up and smell the coffee. This phrase can also apply when it's time to accept something like a bad situation or bad news, usually something that isn't going to change. Which takes us on to our example. Before I went to law school, I tried to get acting jobs for 5 years. I finally had to wake up and smell the coffee that I wasn't going to become a professional actor. So this wasn't going to change. It doesn't matter how much this person tried. This it wasn't going to work out. I had to wake up and smell the coffee. Next up, we have bean counter. So here we're talking specifically about the coffee beans, but of course there are lots of different beans out there. A bean counter is a person, the counter, who is very good with money, the beans, or who makes decisions predominantly based on finances, which is why we all also use this as an informal name for accountants because they're counting beans. So they're looking after money, counting money. The example here, the bean counters in the finance department never miss a thing. Of course, this is informal, so you probably don't want to call everyone in your department bean counters or similar. So be a little bit careful. Next up, we have the kettle calling the coffee pot or the pot black. This is a slightly older idiom about coffee, which is still used today. It's basically saying that the person is a hypocrite. So, a hypocrite, someone that says you shouldn't do something that maybe has done that thing or does currently do that thing. So, they're saying that you shouldn't do it even though they do it. It could apply when one person accuses another of having a certain negative trait when in fact the accuser, person saying that the other person has done it, has that very same trait too. What they don't realize is they are both as bad as each other. It's like the kettle calling the pot black. Next up, we have a coffee break. So, what is a coffee break? A coffee break is a short break during the working day, during which people typically drink a cup of coffee or tea. So, it doesn't specifically have to be coffee. Of course, some people do not like coffee, in which case it would be a bit mean making them drink coffee. So you can also drink tea or a different beverage of your choosing. And if you watch to the end, you'll find out that one country in particular actually has a law requiring people to have at least 2 10-minute coffee breaks at work or during their work time, which could be quite nice. Okay, so, well, that was a productive morning. I think it's time for a coffee break. So it's time for some rest, but not much. Next up, we have a coffee clatch. So, a coffee clatch is different to a coffee break. This is more of a social gathering. So, and it's used informally, where basically you're all going to meet up, have some coffee, and talk about whatever floats your boat. So, there's to be a coffee clatch after church tomorrow. So, after church has finished, they're going to meet up and drink coffee together and talk about things. We don't know what. And next up we have you look like you could use a coffee. It's well known that coffee is a great way to wake you up in the morning. If you haven't slept very well and look tired, someone may comment that you could use a coffee. So we usually use this a bit in the negative, but it's usually jokingly said to say that someone doesn't quite look awake. Maybe they've not had enough sleep, or their mind might be somewhere else. So here, the example: late night, you look like you could use a coffee. So traditionally, coffee is supposed to wake us up. Next up, we have a coffee person. Most people have a preference for either tea or coffee, and you can therefore describe them as a tea person or a coffee person. So, our example here: I'll pass on the tea, thanks. I'm more of a coffee person. Yeah, or vice versa. Again, entirely up to you. Okay, so now we come to our bonus. Our bonus is, did you know? So this is taken from a 2016 study. There might be more up-to-date studies. I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't find any. This was what I managed to find. But very interesting nonetheless. So the top 10 countries that drink the most coffee per person, so kilograms or pounds per year, and this was taken from the International Coffee Organization 2016. And number one, as you can see, Finland with 12 kilograms. So Finland is the world's biggest consumer of coffee on a per person basis. The average Finn drinks nearly 4 cups a day. Coffee is so popular in Finland that 2 10-minute coffee breaks are legally mandated for Finnish workers. So if you work in Finland, you're legally required to have at least 2 10-minute coffee breaks. That sounds quite cool, doesn't it? And second on the list, so actually we've got quite a big drop now. So from 12 kilograms down to 9.9, although that's still quite a lot. Norwegians drink more than 3 cups of coffee a day. Coffee houses are popular in Norway, and unlike in the United States, they're primarily places to socialize, not to work or to carry a drink out. And then we have Iceland with 9 kilograms. Beer was illegal in Iceland until 1987. This comes up quite a lot in some of these. And wine is costly, so coffee has long been the most essential social drink in the country. It is customary in Iceland to offer any visitor a cup of coffee, and Icelanders have a stock reply, teardroppa, or 10 drops, to indicate that they just want a small cup. I apologize for the pronunciation. Next up, we have 8.7 kilograms, which is Denmark. In Denmark, the word